Prabhu, we are live.
Hare Krishna devotees, thank you so much for joining. It's a Wednesday class. So, since Gaur Purnima is coming and ISV's mood is to distribute Chaitanya Charitamrita, I just thought we'll pick up something from Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it's one of the most famous pastimes that we're going to read. It's like Damodar Leela in Srimad Bhagavatam. Similarly, it's one of the famous pastime. Before that, we'll do a small bhajan, and then we can start. Okay, let's start. Vinu Gita Mataji, you're sharing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Koro More. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Koro More. Toma Bina Te Dayalu Jagat Samsare. Toma Bina Te Dayalu Jagat Samsare. Patita Bhavana Tava Avatara. Patita Bhavana Hetu Tava Avatara. Masama Patita Prabhu na paibe ara. Masama Patita Prabhu na paibe ara. Aha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi. Aha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi. Kripa bolo Kana karo ami bado dukhi. Kripa bolo Kana karo ami bado dukhi. Daya karo Sitapati Advaita Goshai. Daya karo Sitapati Advaita Goshai. Tava kripa bhale pai Chaitanya Nitai. Tava kripa bhale pai Chaitanya Nitai. Gaura prema maya Pandit Gadadhara. Gaura prema maya Pandit Gadadhara. Srinivasa Hari Dasa श्रीनिवास रामचंद्र संगमगे नरोत्तम दास रामचंद्र संगमगे नरोत्तम दास श्री कृष्ण दया कर मोरे तुम बिना हे दयालु जगत संसारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा मदन मोहन जय श्री राधे जय राधा मदन मोहन जय श्री राधे जय महाप्रभु महाप्रभु जय महाप्रभु महाप्रभु जय महाप्रभु जय नरसिंह देव जय Can you bring the Mangalacharan prayers?
Prabhu, I have the bigger version of Mangalacharan prayers that Vashishka Prabhu use. Is that okay?
Yeah, whatever, that's fine.
Okay, Prabhu. Let me share it.
Or, yeah, anyways.
Yep.
ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् आददानस्त्रीणं दन्तैर्इदं याचे पुनः पुनः श्रीमद्रूपा पदाम्भोज धूलिस्यां जन्म जन्मनि वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरु वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं त्वं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादा सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमा नाम श्रेष्ठं मनोभिषचे पुत्रम अत्र स्वरूपम श्रीरूपम तस्याग्रजम उरुपुरीं माथुरीं गोष्ठवातिं राधाकुंडम गिरिवरम अहोराधिका माधवासं प्राप्तो यस्य कृपया श्रीगुरुं तं नतोऽस्मि हे गुरो ज्ञानदा दीनबंधो स्वानंददाता करुणैक सिंधो वृंदावनासी हितावतारा प्रसीद राधा प्रणय प्रचार। हे दीनबंधो करुणैक सिंधो कुरु प्रसादं मयि मंद बूढ़े लक्षापराधे भव पाप गाढ़े तत्पाद पद्मे स्तु मतिश्च कृष्णे। प्रातः श्रीमन्नवद्वीपे द्विनेत्रं द्विभुजं गुरुं वराभयप्रदं शान्तं स्मरेत्तन्नाम पूर्वकं त्वं गोपिका वृषरवेस्तनयान्तिकेसि सेवाधिकारिणि गुरो निजपाद पद्मे दास्यं प्रदाय कुरु मां व्रजकनाने श्री राधांग्री सेवन रसे सुखिनीं सुखाब्धौ। श्री गुरो परमानंद प्रेमानंद फलप्रद व्रजानंद प्रदानंद सेवयां मां नियोजय। नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती नामिने। श्री भान्वी देवी दैताये कृपाब्दये कृष्ण संबंध विज्ञाने दायिने प्रभवे नमः। माधुर्यज्वल प्रेमाद्य श्री रूपानुग भक्तिदा श्री गौर करुणा शक्ति विग्रहाय नमोस्तुते। नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्तये दिनतारिणे रूपानुग विरुद्धापा सिद्धांत हारिणे। नमो गौरकिशोराय साक्षात् वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्बर सांबोधे पादाम्बुजाय ते नमः। नमो भक्ति विनोदाय सच्चिदानंद नामिने गौरशक्ति स्वरूपाय रूपानुगवराय ते। गौराविर्भाव भूमेस्त्वं निर्दिष्ट सज्जन प्रिय वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरतुषे नमः। पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। जयतां सुरतौ पंगोर्मो मंद मते गति मत्सर्वस्व पदां भोजौ राधा मदन मोहनौ। दिव्याद्रिंदारण्यकल्पद्रुमाद श्रीमद्रत्नागर सिंहासनस्थौ श्रीमद् राधा शील गोविंद देवो पृष्ठालिभि सेव्यमानो स्मरामि। श्रीमान् रासरसारंभी वांशी वटतटस्थित कर्षणवेणु सुनैर्गोपीर गोपीनाथाय श्रीस्तु नः। ए तीन ठाकुर गौड़ीयके करिया छिन्न आत्मसात ए तीनेर चरण वंदो तीने मोर नाथ। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंदे नंद व्रजस्त्रीणां पादरेणुम् अभीक्ष्णश यासां हरिकथोद्गीतं पुनाति भुवनत्रयम्। हन्तायामद्रिर अबल हरिदासवर्यो यद् रामकृष्ण चरणस्पर्श प्रमोद मानं तनोति स गोगणयोस्तयोर्यत् पाणिया सुयवस कंदर कंदमूलये। वृंदाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवश्च च विष्णु भक्ति देवी नमो नमः। श्री नरसिंह जय जय नरसिंह प्रहलादेश जय पद्मा मुख पद्म भृंग। यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानम् अधर्मस्य तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम्। परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय सम्भवामि युगे युगे। मन्मना भव मद्भक्तो मद्याजी मां नमस्कुरु मां यविशिष्टयुक्तेवम् आत्मानं मत्परायणः। सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वां सर्वपापी विमुक्ष्यिष्यामि मा शुचः। शुश्रूषदानस्य वासुदेव कथारुचि स्यान्महत्सेवया विप्रा पुण्यतीर्थे निषेवनात्। शृणुतां स्वकथा कृष्णा पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तन हृदयस्तुभद्राणि विदुनोति स्वहत्सताम्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया बहुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। तदा रजस्तमो भाव कामालोभदश्च ये चेतैरनाविद्धं सुतं सत्त्वे प्रसीदति। एवं प्रसन्नमनसो भगवद्भक्तियोगतः भगवत्तत्त्वविज्ञानं मुक्तसङ्गस्य जायते। विद्यते हृदया ग्रन्थे छिद्यन्ते सर्वसंशयः क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि दृष्ट एवात्मनीश्वरे। मालिहना करे से बीज आरोपण श्रवण कीर्तन जले करये छेचन। तान विस्तारित हना फले प्रेम फल इहा माली सेचे नित्य श्रवणादि जल वैराग्य विद्या निज भक्ति योगा शिक्षार्थमेक पुरुष पुराण श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य शरीरधारी कृपाम बुद्धि यस्तमहं प्रपद्ये कालान् नष्टा भक्ति योगम निजम य प्रादुष्कर्तुं कृष्ण चैतन्य नामा आवेर्भूतस् भूतस्तस्य पदारविन्दे गाढं गाढं लियतां चित्तभृङ्ग आजानुलम्बित भुजौ कना वदातौ संकीर्तनैक पितरौ कमलयाताक्षौ विश्वम्भरौ द्विजवरौ युगधर्मपालौ वन्दे जगत्प्रियकरौ करुणावतारौ मत्समो नास्ति पापात्मा न पराधि च कश्चन परिहारे विलज्जामि किं ब्रुवे पुरुषोत्तम युवतीनामिता योनि यूनं च युवतौ यथा मनोभिर्मते तद्वन् मनो मे रमतां त्वयि भूमौ स्खलितपादानां भूमिरेवावलम्बनं त्वयि जातापराधानां त्वमेव शरणं प्रभो गोविन्दवल्लभे राधे प्रार्थये त्वमहं सदा त्वदीयमिति जानातु गोविन्द मां त्वया सह राधे वृन्दावनेदीशे करुणामृतवाहिनी कृपया निजपादाब्जस्यामयं प्रदीयताम् जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद. Okay, Mataji, we can start. So I should share, right? Okay.
Yes, Prabhu, I think you have the sharing right, so you can share.
Okay. So we are going to read from a very beautiful chapter, chapter 5 of Madhya Lila, and that is activities of Sakshi Gopal. So everyone is able to see my screen?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So yeah, I was when I was deciding which one, I was thinking of the fourth chapter I should pick up, or this one. Then I finally thought, okay, let's do this one. Very sweet chapter. How we have. I was just thinking when I was reading this chapter today morning, I was thinking that how we have Damodar Leela, one of the famous pastime, which just keeps repeating every year, and still it is sweet. It's the same thing, Sakshi Gopal. We have heard it many times. The purports are brilliant, Vishal Prabhupada, obviously, as any other purport, but especially this one. Very nice purports. So we'll go through some of them. And our aim is to complete, let's see, 112 verses. So that's a lot. We'll see how much we can. We'll start from 10th verse just to keep it. And we'll be focusing more on the translations. Verses we'll see. So since 4 of us are there, maybe we'll do 5 or 10, whatever it is. Yeah. So obviously we Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he starts for Puri, and while he's going to Puri, first thing, Sakshi Gopal, actually it started from Vrindavan. From Vrindavan we know that it came to Vidyanagar, and from Vidyanagar it came to Katak, because King Purushottam, he defeated King of Vidyanagar. So that's how it came to Katak. And after that, it was brought to Jagannath Puri temple. But then we are aware that how there was a transcendental madbhed between the two lords, Sakshi Gopal and Jagannath ji. And then from there he was brought to Satyavadi village, which is around 5.5 miles from Jagannath Puri, and then he is installed there. So that is basically the entire journey of Sakshi Gopal. And now we'll discuss the story itself. So the thing it starts actually let's read the verse first, this one, text one, and rest we can just do translations. Padbyam chalan ya pratima swarupo brahmanya devo hi shashata hagamyam desham yayo viprakrite puteham tam sakshi gopalam aham natosmi. Padbyam chalan ya pratima swarupo. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Brahmanya Deva, who appeared as Sakshi Gopal as to benefit a Brahmana. For 100 days, he traveled through the country, walking on his own legs. Thus, his activities are wonderful. Yeah, so it's amazing, right? I was just thinking, what is something that I should remember from this chapter, what it is. And there are many things, but particularly that was standing out. Obviously, one is the deity is walking, right? That is something rare. We'll see that. But for me, especially in this chapter, when I was reading this, what came to me was the faith that the young Brahmana had for Sakshi Gopal, right? Once Srila Prabhupada, he was just walking around in London, and Russell Square, I think that was one of the place. He was just walking around with the disciples, and suddenly he just stopped, and he put his chadi or stick very strongly on the ground and said, "There is only one problem. There's only one problem." And all the disciples wondering what problem? What is that one problem? And then Srila Prabhupada said the one problem that we are facing, I mean the disciples and in all over the world, and that is we don't have faith in Krishna. Now also, if we see deeper, I mean, at least I can say for myself, so many times when we go out, we distribute books, or when we are giving lectures, or when we're just sharing Krishna consciousness, deep within our heart, we sometimes wonder, do I have faith in Krishna? Right? Do I have faith in Krishna? And here we see, in fact, sometimes when devotees say today's chanting was so good, and then you wonder, why am I not getting that? Right? We just feel that why there is no faith in Krishna, right? So Srila Prabhupada was saying the same thing, that is a problem. We don't have any faith in Krishna. So here the young Brahmana is actually teaching us through this entire pastime that he had so much faith in Krishna. In fact, there is a section where he will say that to Krishna, to Gopal, that if you don't move, sin will incur on you. Imagine, it's like you are driving, police is driving at 100 miles per hour. Obviously, he's allowed to do that. And then you are driving behind him and you're stopping him and telling him, wait, I'll give you a ticket. Why? Because you overspeed. It's like that. The Sangha Brahmana is telling to Gopal that sin will incur on you. Why? Because you are not following your own vows. So we see that the staunch faith that that young Brahmana had for Gopal. So that is a pastime we'll read. So here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu basically reaches Cuttack, and as soon as he reaches Cuttack, Nityanand Prabhu, he starts mentioning about the entire pastime of Sakshi Gopal. So we'll start from verse number 10. So that's where it starts. Yeah. So it starts from two Brahmanas, young Brahmana and the old Brahmana. They are going to various Tirthasthan, to various places. So anybody would like to volunteer to read, or then
I can read, Prabhu.
Thank you, Ashray Madhav.
Madhav Das. Just the verse or just the translation?
Oh, just the translation is
just the translation.
fine.
Okay. Formerly at Vidyanagar in South India, there were two Brahmanas who made a long tour to see different places of pilgrimage. And till where I should read?
Oh, maybe we can do 10.
10, okay.
Yeah, so you can do till 20.
Okay.
Starting from 10.
Okay. First of all, they visited Gaya, then Kasi, then Prayag. Finally, with great pleasure, they came to Mathura. After reaching Mathura, they started visiting the different forests of Vrindavan and came to Govardhan Hill. They visited all 12 forests, vanas, and at last came to the town of Vrindavan. In the village of Panchakroshi Vrindavan, at the site where the Govinda temple is now situated, there was a great temple where gorgeous worship of Gopal was performed. After taking baths at different bathing places along the river Yamuna, such as Kesi Ghat and Kalia Ghat, the pilgrims visited the temple of Gopal. Afterwards, they took rest in that temple. The beauty of the Gopal deities stole away their minds, and feeling great happiness, they remained there for 2 or 4 days. One of the two Brahmanas was an old man, and the other was young. The young man was assisting the old one. Indeed, the young Brahmana always rendered service to the older one, and the old man, being very satisfied with his service, was pleased with him. The older man told the younger, "You have rendered various types of service to me. You have assisted me in traveling to all these places of pilgrimage. Even my own son does not render such service. By your mercy, I did not become fatigued while on this tour. If I did not show you any respect, I would be ungrateful. Therefore, I promise to give you my daughter in charity."
So we see here that the older Brahmana was extremely happy by the service of younger Brahmana. It is said that when you are angry and or when you are too happy, you should be extremely careful of what you are speaking. Right. So here, older Brahmana was extremely happy just by the service that was rendered by the younger Brahmana. We'll see then in the further verses, Srila Prabhupada actually glorifying the service attitude of a devotee towards another Vaishnava. So here he was so happy that he didn't even realize that he should have checked with his family members, right? And we will also see that Srila Prabhupada says in one of the places that both are actually advanced Vaishnavas, both are devotees. But it is Krishna's plan that how he wants to put his devotees into certain situations. Right? Jai Vijay, there are different explanations in different scripture commentaries, but by various acharyas explaining about they falling down and taking the birth as taking 3 lifetimes of demons, birth of demons. But at the end, we understand it's actually was Krishna's plan, that they were in such a situation where they did not treat well the 4 Kumaras, right? So it's not like they were not great Vaishnavas, but it's just that Krishna's plan was like that. Then, and one of the most popular story is obviously Bhishma Pitama, right? He's considered as Mahajan. Mahajano yena gata sapanta. There is a situation where Krishna could not convince Yudhishthir Maharaj. And then he had to take shelter. Yudhishthir Maharaj had to take shelter of Bhishma. So Krishna had wanted to glorify Bhishma and Bhishma's wisdom, right? But then he had to take side of Kauravas. So we see that how devotees are sometimes put in a very tough situation. Just the nature of the material world is like that. Once devotee was mentioning Maya's is one of the great salesmen. It will, if you see, Maya will always show that, oh, this is nothing much, they will always show the best thing, right? And you might feel that no, this is not good, this, that, but somehow it will just try to you will fill in that in their the way they show you the material world, right? Perfect salesman, Maya. It will just try to pull you in to buy their products, right? Their material world. You'll just feel, oh yeah, this is so good, right? And then we suffer, correct? So that's the material world, and that's what Krishna is showing, that in the material world nobody is spared. That is the nature of the material world. Somehow the situation will be like that, where a very advanced Vaishnavas also have to take very hard decisions. So we'll see an older Brahmana also is putting in such a situation where he is he didn't realize that he's supposed to consult with his family members. Obviously, he's the head of the family in one sense, but because of the joy that he got, because the way the younger Brahmana served him, he just felt that I want to give my daughter in charity, right? So, yeah. Now we'll see. As soon as he says this, younger Brahmana explains him that there is a caste difference, or there is a status difference, so it will not be possible, right? He tries to explain him, but older Brahmana is just too happy, right, to consider his arguments. Okay, who wants to read now? Or
I can read, Prabhu.
thank you so much.
The younger Brahmana replied, "My dear sir, please hear me. You are saying something very unusual. Such a thing never happens. You are most you are a most aristocratic family man, well educated and very rich. I am not at all aristocratic, and I am without a decent education and have no wealth. Sir, I am not a suitable bridegroom for your daughter. I render service to you only for the satisfaction of Krishna."
Yeah, so can you read the purport? It's
Purport.
very nice purport by Srila
Sure,
Prabhupada.
Prabhu. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Both Brahmanas were pure Vaishnava. The younger man took special care of the older one simply to praise Krishna. In Srimad Bhagavatam 11:19-21, Krishna said, Madbhakti Madbhaktiha pujabhyaktikai. It is better to render service to my devotee. Thus, according to the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is better to be a servant of the servant of God. One should not try to serve Krishna directly. A pure Vaishnava serves the servant of Krishna and identify himself as a servant of Krishna. This is pleasing to Lord Krishna. Srila Ninottam Das Thakur confirms this philosophy. Chadiyaya Vaishna Seva Nistara Piche Keba. Unless one serves the liberated Vaishnava, he cannot attain liberation by directly serving Krishna. He must serve the servant of Krishna.
So I'll just go to this verse once, 1921. Okay, Maji, can you read this one?
Sure, Prabhu. Adharaha paricharyana sarvagir abhivandhanam madbhaktaha pujabhyadikam sarvabhuteshu manmatihi.
Maji, can you read the translation?
Firm faith in the blissful narrations of my pastime, constant chanting of my glories, unwavering attachment to ceremonial worship of me, praising me through beautiful hymns, great respect to my devotional service, offering obeisance with the entire body, performing first-class worship of my devotees, consciousness of me in all living entities, offering of ordinary bodily activities in my devotional service, use of words to describe my qualities, offering the mind to me, rejection of all material desires, giving up wealth for my devotional service, renouncing material sense gratification and happiness, and performing all desirable activities such as charity, sacrifice, chanting, vows, and austerities with the purpose of achieving me. These constitute actual religious principles by which those human beings who have actually surrendered themselves to me automatically develop love for me. What other purpose or goal could remain for my devotee?
Oh, in the purport of the Srila focuses on this line only. Okay, we'll go back. Yes. Okay. Yes, Machi, sorry. Please continue.
No problem. It's okay. Lord Krishna is very much pleased by service rendered to Brahmanas. And when the Lord is pleased, the opulence of one's devotional service increases. In this regard, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments that a younger Brahmana rendered service to the older one with the purpose of pleasing Krishna. It was not a matter of ordinary worldly dealings. Krishna is pleased when a Vaishnava is rendered service. Because a younger Brahmana served the older one, Lord Gopala agreed to become a witness of the marriage negotiation in order to maintain the prestige of both devotees. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would certainly not have liked to hear about marriage dealings unless such dealings were exchanged between two Vaishnavas. Marriage arrangements and ceremonies belong to ordinary material karma kanda sections of the scriptures. The Vaishnavas, however, are not interested in any kind of karma kanda dealings. Shri Narosam Das Thakur says, Karma kanda, jnana kanda, kevala vishvera bhanda. For a Vaishnava, the karma kanda and jnana kanda sections of the Vedas are unnecessary. Indeed, a real Vaishnava takes these sections as a poison pot, vishvera bhanda. Sometimes we take part in the marriage ceremony for our disciples, but this does not mean that we are interested in karma kanda activities. Sometimes, not knowing the Vaishnava philosophy, an outsider criticizes such activities, maintaining that a sannyasi should not take part in the marriage ceremony between a young boy and a young girl. However, this is not a karma kanda activity because our purpose is to spread the Krishna conscious movement. We have given all facility to the general populace to take to Krishna consciousness. And in order to fix the devotees in concentration on the service of the Lord, marriage is sometimes allowed. We have experienced that such married couples actually render very important service to the mission. Therefore, one should not misunderstand when a sannyasi takes part in the marriage ceremony. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu took great pleasure in hearing about the marriage ceremony between the young Brahmana and the daughter of the elderly Brahmana.
Yeah, we'll discuss this more maybe after Mataji is coming. Once you can complete till 30 and then we can discuss.
Yes, Prabhu. The older Brahmana replied, My dear boy, do not doubt me. I will give you my daughter in charity. I have already decided this. The young Brahmana said, You have a wife and sons, and you have a large circle of relatives and friends. Without the consent of all your friends and relatives, it is not possible to give me a daughter in charity. Just consider the story of Queen Rukmani and her father, Bhishmaka. King Bhishmaka wanted to give his daughter Rukmini in charity to Krishna, but Rukmi, his elder son, objected. Therefore, he could not carry out his decision. The elderly Brahmana said, My daughter is my own property. If I choose to give you property to someone, if I choose to give my property to someone, who has the power to stop me? My dear son, I will give my daughter to you in charity, and I will neglect the position of all others. Don't doubt me in this regard. Just accept my proposal.
Yes, so much, he has so much surety and nothing will happen. But here, obviously, young Brahmana is warning him, but he's just so sure about his. Sometimes it happens, right? We think that everything will go as per our plans, but Krishna has his own plans. One thing I wanted to mention here is one should not try to serve Krishna directly. A pure Vaishnava serves a servant of Krishna and identifies himself as a servant of the Krishna. This actually happened with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, right? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's spiritual master's servant, Govinda, he came and he said that Ishwarapuri, I was to serve Ishwarapuri, now I have to serve. I've been told to serve you. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thought, he's my god brother. How can I take service from him? He was completely baffled. And then he took shelter of, he asked Advaita Acharyas, and he asked him that, what should we do? Advaita Acharya said that your spiritual master has ordered Govinda to serve you. So that way you should you should follow the instructions of a spiritual master. And Govinda's mood was extremely like servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord, right? At one level, he was his god brother, but at the level he was completely surrendered to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Various pastimes, how he served Chaitanya Mahaprabhu selflessly, right? Another thing is not asking for something, right? Because younger Brahmana told older Brahmana that don't think that I'm doing all this because I want something in return, right? That's what karma kanda do, right? They go to temple and they think that the bell that of the temple is like a restaurant bell. Tring tring, I want this. Tring tring, I want that. It's not like that, right? So that's what that's karma kanda. But here younger Brahmana is saying, I have not come here to ask something. I just asked. I just wanted to serve, right? In ISKCON we say this, service for service, right? We're just serving for service sake, but don't want anything in return. So that is what here younger Brahmana is telling the older Brahmana as well. And then there's a masterclass purport. Here Sri Prabhupada mentions about how sometimes sannyasis have to get into the marriage of grahasthas, right? Sri Prabhupada had to do it. In fact, Sri Prabhupada, when he was coming back to USA after the entire trip, he had to go to India because of health reasons. And when he came back, he got sadis for all his granddaughters, for his, disciples, daughter disciples, right? So we see that, but why? All for the service of, because so they can serve Krishna in a better way. In fact, he also conducted marriages, not just attended the marriages, he actually conducted the marriages of some of the his disciples. And then those disciples went on to build temples, right? Sometimes it is difficult to even for a brahmachari to build a temple, but they, as a grahastha, they build temples. So we see that how Srila Prabhupada, whatever he is mentioning here, that if the grahastha is taking Krishna consciousness, then it's all right. It's not a karma kanda from the sannyasi's point of view to attend such marriages. Yeah. So later on, they are giving the example of Queen Rukmini and Bhishmaka, obviously. Okay, we'll go ahead from verse number 31. Anyone else wants to read, or then I can read? Okay, maybe
I can read, Prabhu, if you want.
Sure, Prabhu, maybe then we can have a circle.
Okay.
Then you can. Yeah, I was just waiting for, there is a one more online, Mayank, so I just wanted to confirm, but that's fine. Maybe I can read. The younger Brahmana replied, if you have decided to give your young daughter to me, then say so before the Gopal deity. Coming before Gopal, the elderly Brahmana said, my dear Lord, please witness that I have given my daughter to this boy. We can see here, so much faith, right? So much faith. In fact, if you see devotees by default, they just little bit also they start practicing Krishna consciousness. They build some sort of little faith. We might not have complete faith, but we start building that little faith. Imagine in the class itself, right? After the end of the class, with so much audacity, we say, anyone has any questions, as if we are able to, at least for me, I can say, not answer every question. But we just say right, at the end of the class, that anyone has any questions. Just a faith that Krishna will somehow reciprocate. Correct? If we see the skills that devotees learn in Krishna consciousness, right? It's just amazing. In India, when I was just talking to my relatives, cooking for 20 people also, they need some outsider help, right? But here 100 people also in temples, 100, 300, 500 people, prasadam is cooked, right, by grahasthas or by brahmacharis. Just sometimes 4 or 5 devotees are only there, and for 400, 500 people, devotees, the prasadam is served, right? Being it even fundraising. I remember Vaishnav Prabhuji always says this story, that when our current ISV, when they were planning to move to that temple, the board meeting was happening, and they had do certain level of down payment they had to do. And Vaishnav asked that this much amount of down payment we are supposed to do, how can we do it? And one of the devotees said, yeah, it will be done, we can do it. And Vaishnav said, just seeing the faith that he had, that it will be done, that we all had, so we all got the encouragement that yes, it will be done. So we see that devotees, at one level we might say that we don't have full faith. but other level we do know to some level that yes, Krishna will reciprocate. Krishna will definitely reciprocate. And that's what here we are seeing. Here the younger Brahmana had complete faith. And he's telling in front of the elder Brahmana to Gopal that please be witness that I have given my daughter to this boy. Right? In fact, we'll read the purport and then we can discuss. I was just remembering one pastime purport. In India, it is still the custom for a daughter to be offered to someone simply by word. This is called Vagdatta. This means that the father, brother, or guardian of a girl has given his word that she will be married to a certain man. Consequently, that the daughter cannot be married to anyone else. She is reserved by virtue of the honest words of the father or guardian. There are many instances in which the parents of a female child have given someone a verbal promise that their daughter will be married to his son. Both parties agree to wait until the boy and girl are grown up, and then the marriage takes place. Following this custom, which is very old in India, the elderly Brahmana promised to give his daughter to the younger Brahmana in charity. And he promised this before the Gopal deity. In India, the custom is to honor any promise made before the deity. Such a promise cannot be cancelled. In Indian villages, whenever there is a quarrel between two parties, they go to the temple to settle the quarrel. Whatever is spoken in front of the deity is taken to be true, for no one would dare lie before the deity. The same principle was followed in the Battle of Kurukshetra. Therefore, in the very beginning of Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. By not becoming God conscious, human society is deteriorating to the lowest standard of human animal life. We are actually seeing that. This Krishna consciousness movement is very essential to reviving God consciousness among the general populace. If people actually become God conscious, all quarrels can be settled outside of court, as happened in the case of two Brahmanas whose disagreement was settled by the witness Gopal. Now also there are, in villages, still there are situations where any quarrels is there and needs to be resolved, they take the help of the deities. In fact, in ISKCON temple, I heard one story that there was sort of a misunderstanding between the two parties, and both were not ready to budge. That first person that I did not do it, and second person said to the person who was trying to close the matter that no, this first person actually did it, and the first person said I did not do it. And then they were brought in front of deity, and then the first person was again asked, first devotee, that did you do whatever, the discussion is going on, and he said finally, in front of deity, he couldn't say lie, and he couldn't lie, and he said yes, I actually did whatever he had done. So now also in villages, in temples, there is the deities are brought if there is any quarrel, and all of this simply depends on a very basic thing, and that is faith. Right? If either parties are not having faith in Krishna, then there will be no resolution. Right? But we see here they have faith. All the three parties, the one who is doing the resolution, first party and second party, all the three are having complete faith in Krishna. Right? So that's what we are seeing here. Chota Vipra Bale Thakur, Tumi Mora Sakshi, Toma Sakshi Balai Mo, Yadi Anyatha Dekhi. Then the younger Brahmana addressed the deity saying, my dear Lord, you are my witness. I shall call for you to testify it is necessary later on. Right? So much, simplicity. Just see the simplicity in younger Brahmana. So just had complete faith in Krishna. Once Shyamsundar Prabhu and Malati Mata, they were sharing this story in Haight-Ashbury. They were in a situation where they had just some more days only by which they can sustain themselves. It was just, even the temple, it was just difficult. They didn't have much money remaining, Lakshmi, and sustenance of temple would have been extremely difficult. But they had complete faith in Krishna. That's what Srila Prabhupada told him, just have faith in Krishna. And one day he was just, as soon as he stepped out of the temple, he saw that the $100 bills just flying in the sky, and finally they all dropped on the road. And of nowhere, Shamsundar Prabhu's realization was that, that is what Srila Prabhupada says, that you should have complete faith in Krishna. Suddenly from nowhere, the $100 bills were flying actually on the road. So here also we see younger Brahmanas. Faith, so much faith he had in Krishna, right? Verse number 34. After these talks, the two Brahmanas started for home. As usual, the younger Brahmana accompanied the elderly Brahmana as if the older Brahmana were a guru, spiritual master, and rendered him service in various ways. After returning to Vidyanagar, each Brahmana went to his respective home. After some time, the elderly Brahmana became very anxious. Right now, he's getting say, right, you with all audacity, you made statements, but now you are thinking, how will I convince my family? He began to think, I have given my word to a Brahmana in a holy place, and what I promised will certainly come to pass. I must now disclose this to my wife, son, other relatives, and friends. Thus, one day, the elderly Brahmana called for a meeting of all his relatives and friends, and before them, all he narrated what had taken place in front of Gopal. When those who belonged to the family circle heard the narration of the old Brahmana, they made exclamations showing their disappointment. They all requested that he not make such a proposal again. They unanimously agreed, if you offer your daughter to a degraded family, your aristocracy will be lost. When people hear of this, they will make jokes and laugh at you. The elderly Brahmana said, how can I undo the promise I made in a holy place while on pilgrimage? Whatever may happen, I must give him my daughter in charity. That's why Srila Prabhupada mentions that actually, the older Brahmana was actually a great Vaishnava because he had faith in Krishna, and that is why he made that statement. But now he's in a circumstance because he's still, and that is the power of material world. So now he's saying that I have to give in charity because I have given that promise. So now we will see ahead what happens. Ashray Mother Prabhu, you want to continue?
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
The relatives unanimously said, if you give your daughter to that boy, we shall give up all connection with you. Indeed, his wife and sons declared, if such a thing happens, we shall take poison and die. The elderly Brahmana said, if I do not give my daughter to the young Brahmana, he will call Sri Gopalji as a witness. Thus, he will take my daughter by force. And in that case, my religious principles will become meaningless. His son replied, the deity may be a witness, but he is in a distant country. How can he come to be a witness against you? Why are you so anxious over this? You do not, I think one more up. You do not have to flatly deny that you spoke such a thing. There is no need to make a false statement. Simply say that you do not remember what you said. If you simply say, I do not remember, I shall take care of the rest. By argument, I shall defeat the young Brahmana. When the elderly Brahmana heard this, his mind became very much agitated. Feeling helpless, he simply turned his attention to the lotus feet of Gopal. The elderly Brahmana prayed, my dear Lord Gopal, I have taken shelter of your lotus feet, and therefore I request you to please protect my religious principles from disturbance and at the same time save my kinsmen from dying. The next day, the elderly Brahmana was thinking deeply about this matter when the young Brahmana came to his house. The young Brahmana came to him and offered respectful obeisances. Then very humbly folding his hands, he spoke as follows. You have promised to give your daughter in charity to me. Now you do not say anything. What is your conclusion?
Yeah. So here now we are seeing that the older Brahmana is telling to his family members that I've already given the promise, and anyways Gopal deity was there. He was a Sakshi. But see here, the problem is the son. The older Brahmana is advised Vaishnava. That's what Srila Prabhupada mentioned in the previous purport. Younger Brahmana is also a Vaishnava. The only problem was with the son. He was actually an atheist. And because of that, he had no faith in Krishna. So he tries to manipulate the older Brahmana, and that is the nature of an atheist. They always try to be crooked, always crooked. And that's what he is here also saying. You don't have to lie, because he's concerned that he had to lie and he cannot lie. So the son is saying, you don't have to lie. Just say that much, that you just say that I don't remember, right? And then rest I will take care. Same thing Yudhishthira, oh, actually it is mentioned here, yeah, in purport. Same thing Yudhishthira Maharaj also. When Yudhishthira Maharaj was asked that you just say that Ashwatthama has been killed, right? And he said, I cannot lie. And then he was put in a situation, and he said then, obviously it was Krishna's plan. But here we basically see that the nature of atheistic people, they're always crooked. They always want to cut corners. Here also we are seeing he's trying to cut corner and trying to force the older Brahmana to lie. Obviously, when it is done in junction or in line with Krishna's Krishna wants it, then it is okay. But here he had no faith in Krishna. So yeah. Mataji, you want to read or should I?
Yes, Prabhu. Sure, Prabhu. Text 51. After the young Brahmana submitted this statement, the elderly Brahmana remained silent. Taking this opportunity, his son immediately came out with a stake to strike the young man. The man said, "Oh, you are most." The son said, "Oh, you are most degraded. You want to marry my sister, just like a draft who wants to catch the moon." Seeing a stake in the hand of the son, the younger Brahmana fled. The next day, however, he gathered together all the people of the village. All the people of the village then called for the elderly Brahmana and brought him to their meeting place. The young Brahmana then began to speak before them as follows. This gentleman has promised to hand over his daughter to me, yet now he does not follow his promise. Please ask him about his behavior. All the people gathered there asked the elderly Brahmana, if you have already promised to give him your daughter in charity, why are you not fulfilling your promise? You have given your word of honor. The elderly Brahmana said, my dear friends, please hear what I have to submit. I do not exactly remember making a promise like that. When the elderly Brahmana's son heard this, he took the opportunity to juggle some words. Becoming very impudent, he stood before the assembly and spoke as follows. While touring various holy places of pilgrimage, my father carried much money. Seeing the money, this rock decided to take it away. There was no one beside this man with my father, giving him an intoxicant known as dhatura to eat. This rock made my father mad.
Yeah. So once a devotee was mentioning that these three personalities, the younger Brahmana, the older Brahmana, and his son, it represents in one way the Shaktis of the Lord. I mean, analogy in the sense that the younger Brahmana is internal Shakti, in the sense that he is completely committed to Krishna, completely had complete faith. And the other end, the son, complete atheistic, external, completely atheistic. And then the older Brahmana, who is actually Krishna conscious, advanced, but on the tatastha, in the middle. Like here he says that I'm not sure, I don't remember. Bhishma Dev, right? When disrobing of Draupadi was going on, he couldn't do anything. He just couldn't do anything. He was just bound by the kingdom, right? So it's sometimes difficult. That's the nature of the material world. Sometimes so difficult. Here we see the same thing. Old man had to take such a difficult step of telling a half sort of lie. Yeah, maybe I can read now from 61. Having taken all my father's money, this rogue claimed that it was taken by some thief. Now he's claiming that my father has promised to give him his daughter in charity. All of you assembled here as gentlemen, please judge whether it is befitting to offer the poor Brahmana my father's daughter. Hearing all these statements, all the people gathered there become a little doubtful. They thought it quite possible that because of attraction for riches, one might give up his religious principles. At that time, the young Brahmana said, my dear gentlemen, please hear. Just to gain victory in an argument, this man is lying. Being very satisfied with my service, this Brahmana said to me of his own accord, I promise to hand over my daughter to you. At that time, I forbade him to do this, telling him, O best of Brahmanas, I am not a fit husband for your daughter. Whereas you are a learned scholar, a rich man, belonging to an aristocratic family. I am a poor man, uneducated, and with no claim to aristocracy. Still, this Brahmana insisted. Again and again, he asked me to accept his proposal, saying, I have given you my daughter. Please accept her. I then said, Please hear, you are learned Brahmana, your wife, friends, and relatives will never agree to this proposal. My dear sir, you will not be able to fulfill your promise. Your promise will be broken. Yet again and again, the Brahmana emphasized his promise. Just see the simplicity of the young man, young Brahmana, right? He was just sticking to his to the statements, and very simple, nothing crooked or trying to say something, just being very simple. And that is what the formula of having faith. The faith comes actually from simplicity. We'll see a powerful purport in 76. That's the section that Ashray Madhav Prabhu will be reading. So, yeah, you see that section.
I have offered you my daughter. Do not hesitate. She is my daughter, and I shall give her to you. Who can forbid me? At that time, I concentrated my mind and requested the Brahmana to make the promise before the Gopal deity. Then this gentleman said in front of the Gopal deity, My dear Lord, please bear witness. I have offered my daughter to this Brahmana in charity. Accepting the Gopal deity as my witness, I then submitted the following at his lotus feet. If this Brahmana later hesitates to give me his daughter, my dear Lord, I shall call on you as a witness. Please note this with care and attention. Thus, I have called upon a great personality in this transaction. I have asked the Supreme Godhead to be my witness. The entire world accepts the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah, this is a very nice purport by Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, Prabhupada.
Yes, purport by Srila Prabhupada. Although the young Brahmana described himself as having no claims to aristocracy and being an uneducated common man, still he had one good qualification. He believed that the Supreme Personality of Godhead was the topmost authority. He accepted the words of Lord Krishna without hesitation, and he had firm faith in the Lord's consistency. According to Prahlad Maharaj, another authority on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, such a staunch and faithful devotee of the Lord, must be understood to be a most learned scholar. Tanmaye Adhitam Uttamam, Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.24. A pure devotee who has firm faith in the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is to be considered the most learned scholar, the topmost aristocrat, and the richest man in the whole world. All godly qualities automatically exist in such a devotee. In the preaching work of the Krishna consciousness movement, we, as the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, fully believe in the words of Krishna and his servants, the disciplic succession. In this way, we are presenting the words of Krishna throughout the world. Even though we are neither a rich man nor a very learned scholar, and even though we do not belong to any aristocracy, this movement is still being welcomed and is very easily spreading all over the world. Although we are very poor and have no professional source of income, Krishna supplies money whenever we need it. Whenever we need some men, Krishna supplies them. Thus it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita 6.22. Yam labdva chaparam labham manyate nadikam tata. Actually, if we can attain the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, we do not need anything else. We certainly do not need those things which a mundane person considers to be material assets.
Yeah, so here, two things. One is, here Sri Prabhupada is mentioning the servant of the servant of the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right, that is the mood. Once Madhurendra Prabhu was telling in his class that, let's say suddenly there is a knock on your door, and when you open the door, it's Krishna. Krishna is in front of you. What will you do now? Suddenly Krishna is in front of you. What will you do now? And then he was just asking the question. Different people are saying different things, devotees. And finally he said, actually, first I'll ask my spiritual master to come, because I have no qualification to face Krishna, right? And then he mentioned about this being the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. We should consistently remember that we are we have no qualification, and his spiritual master mercy that we get qualification. Yeah, so that's what here is mentioned. The preaching work of Krishna conscious movement. We, the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, fully believe in the words of Krishna and his servants, the disciplic succession. The second thing is simplicity. I mean, it was, again, as we mentioned earlier, the young Brahmana was extremely simple. And same thing, all the devotees, if you see, the formula is that to be very simple. Srila Prabhupada, when he sees, suddenly he saw outside white thing, it was snow, and he just felt that as a child, he just said, he didn't know that it was completely covered by snow. Devotees mentioning that it is good to have a childlike heart, but not childish. Childish means that you're not mature in Krishna consciousness. Childlike means you're mature in Krishna consciousness, but that simplicity is there. Like if you take example of Bilva Mangal Thakur. Bilva Mangal Thakur had all the, he could have, if he wanted, he could have completely hidden his previous past, right? His past, basically. Nobody wants to reveal their past, especially if it is not so great, right? But Bilva Mangal Thakur, throughout his book, he just give obeisances to his spiritual master Chintamani, and also says what is the occupation that of his spiritual master, right? That is the simplicity. He didn't want to hide anything. This is my past. He was very open about it. That is simplicity. Srila Prabhupada very clearly, anyone comes, he just says, oh, my spiritual master has sent you. He never took any credit. That is simplicity. In Bhagavad Gita, he writes, the only credit that I take in this writing this Bhagavad Gita commentaries are written as it is. I have not added or subtracted anything. Simplicity. And that is what younger Brahmana is also showing here. Just simply having complete faith in the words of Krishna and in Krishna itself, the deity of Krishna. He had complete faith in that. That simplicity was there. That's what we see here. And very nice purport by Srila Prabhupada. He mentions that he was always uneducated common man, right? But he had one good qualification, and that was he believed in Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah, sorry, Srimad Prabhu, please continue.
Yeah, no problem. That was a nice explanation, Prabhu. Taking this opportunity, the elderly Brahmana immediately confirmed that this was really true. He said, if Gopal personally comes here to serve as a witness, I shall surely give my daughter to the young Brahmana. Should I read the purport, Prabhu?
True, yes, you can read that purport.
Okay. The elderly Brahmana's son immediately confirmed this, saying, yes, this is a very nice settlement. As the super soul within the heart of all living entities, Krishna knows everyone's desire, everyone's request, and everyone's prayer. Although all these may be contradictory, the Lord has to create a situation in which everyone will be pleased. This is an instance of a marriage negotiation between an elderly Brahmana and a youthful one. The elderly Brahmana was certainly willing to give his daughter in charity to the young Brahmana, but his son and relatives became impediments to this transaction. The elderly Brahmana considered how to get out of this situation and still offer his daughter to the young Brahmana. His son, an atheist and a very cunning fellow, was thinking of how to stop the marriage. The father and son were thinking in a contradictory way. Yet Krishna created a situation wherein they agreed. They both agreed that if the Gopal deity would come and serve as a witness, the daughter would be given to the young Brahmana.
Yeah, we see here, right? The word cunning is used, right? Yeah. Atheist, yes, but along with that, that's another thing that comes along with atheism. Cunning, same. They juggle the words, right?
Yeah. The elderly Brahmana thought, since Lord Krishna is very merciful, he will certainly come to prove my statement. The atheistic son thought it is not possible for Gopal to come and bear witness. Thinking thus, the father and son agreed.
Yeah, see. So elder Brahmana, although he had to say a half lie or whatever it is, but he had faith in Krishna, complete faith in Krishna here, right? That's the simplicity. Yeah. Vinugita Mataji, you want to read?
Yes, Prabhu. Text 81. The young Brahmana took this opportunity to speak. Please write this down on paper in black and white so that you may not again change your mind, change your word of honor. All the assembled people got the statement down in black and white, and taking the signature of agreement from both of them, served as the mediator. The young Brahmana then said, will all you gentlemen present please hear me? This elderly Brahmana is certainly truthful and is following religious principles. He had no desire to break his promise, but fearing that his kinsman could commit suicide, he deviated from the truth. By the pity of elderly Brahmana, I shall call the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a witness. Thus, I shall keep his truthful promise intact. Hearing the emphatic statement of the younger Brahmana, some atheists in the meeting began to cut jokes. However, someone else said, after all, the Lord is merciful, and if he likes, he can come. After the meeting, the young Brahmana started for Vrindavan. Upon arriving there, he first offered his respectful obeisance to the deity and then narrated everything in full detail. He said, my lord, you are the protector of Brahminical culture, and you are also very merciful. Therefore, kindly show your great mercy by protecting the religious principles of us two Brahmanas. My dear Lord, I am thinking to become happy by getting the daughter as a bride. I am simply thinking that the Brahmana has broken his promise, and that is giving me great pain. The young Brahmana continued, my dear sir, you are very merciful and you know everything. Therefore, kindly be witness in this case. A person who knows things as they are and still does not bear witness becomes involved in sinful activities.
Can you read?
Yes, purport, purport by His Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Thakur Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The dealings between a devotee and the Lord are very simple. The young Brahmana said to the Lord, you know everything, but if you do not bear witness, you will be involved in sinful activities. There is no possibility, however, of the Lord being involved in the sinful activities. A pure devotee, even though he knows everything of the Supreme Lord, can speak with the Lord exactly as if he were a common man. Although the dealings between the Lord and his devotee are always very simple and open, there is formality. All these things happen because of a connection between the Lord and the devotee. Hare Krishna.
You see, the theme is very simple here. It is simplicity, simple, simple. That is what it is. The dealings between Lord and the devotee is very simple, right? We see that story of Narad Muni, right, where he goes to the Brahmanas and he says that Krishna has a headache. Can you please give the dust of your feet? And they say, no, 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 we cannot give. And then they go to the gopis, and Gopi says, yes, if it can help in removing the headache. I mean, if Krishna's health will improve or headache will improve, then definitely we are ready to give, even if we have to go to hell. Because devotees are very, very simple. They don't think much. They're not very calculative, right? They just, yeah. So the main point is this, actually, they're not calculative. So, yeah. So, verse number 91. Krishna
Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu, you can
Or
read.
you are read.
कृष्ण कहे विप्र तुम्हें यहाँ स्वभावने सभा करी मोरे तुम्ही करिह स्मरणे. Oh, and Lord Krishna replied, my dear Brahmana, go back to your home and call a meeting of all men. In that meeting, just try to remember me. I shall certainly appear there, and at the time I shall protect the honor of both you Brahmanas by bearing witness to the promise. The young Brahmana replied, my dear sir, even if you appear there is 400 Vishnu deity, still none of those will believe in your words. Only if you go there in the form of Gopal and speak the words from your beautiful face, will your testimony be heard by all people. Lord Krishna said, I have never heard of a deity is walking from one place to another. The Brahmana replied, that is true, but how is it that you are speaking to me, although you are a deity? My dear Lord, you are not a statue. You are directly the son of Maharaj Nanda. Again, we see, right? I mean, faith. Now, for the sake of the old Brahmana, you can do something you have never done before. Sri Gopalji then smiled and said, my dear Brahmana, just listen to me. I shall walk behind you, and this way I shall go with you. The Lord continued, do not try to see me by turning around. As soon as you see me, I shall remain stationary in that very place. You will know that I am walking behind you by the sound of my ankle bells. Cook 1 kilo of rice daily and offer it. I shall eat that rice and follow behind you. We see this also in book distribution. I mean, first you put a case to the visitor that please take this book. The visitor will say, oh, no, 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 no. I won't be able to take this book. I don't have time. So then devotee will say something for that. Or he will say, oh, I don't believe in God. Then someone will say in that. And then devotee will say some counter argument for that. And finally, the visitor will say, okay, I will take it. Right? It's the other way around here. So Krishna is saying, no, 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 I cannot come. And then young Brahmana is saying, no, 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 you can come. You know, he's giving that confidence to him. Oh, don't worry, you can come. You can do it. And then Krishna is saying, oh no, but I've never heard of deities walking. And then he said, but you can, if you can talk, then you can walk. And then finally, the young Brahmana is again saying, oh, don't worry, you can do it. And Krishna is finally saying, okay, I will do it. Right? So it's the same thing. Devotees are always in the mood of convincing others. You see here, young Brahmana is also doing the same thing.
Yeah. Should I read, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. I think we are we can complete till 112 and we'll stop.
Yeah. Yeah. The next day, the Brahmana begged permission from Gopal and started for his country. Gopal followed him step by step. While Gopal followed the young Brahmana, the tinkling sound of his ankle bells could be heard. The Brahmana became very pleased and he cooked first-class rice for Gopal to eat. The young Brahmana walked and walked in this way until he eventually arrived in his own country. When he neared his own village, he began to think as follows. I have now come to my village, and I shall go to my home and tell all the people that the witness has arrived. The Brahmana then began to think that if the people didn't directly see the Gopal deity, they would not believe that he had arrived. But even if Gopal stays here, he thought, there is still nothing to fear. Thinking this, the Brahmana turned to look back and he saw that Gopal, the supreme personality of Godhead, was standing there smiling. The Lord told the Brahmana, now you can go home. I shall stay here and shall not leave. The young Brahmana then went to the town and informed all the people about Gopal's arrival. Hearing this, the people were struck with wonder. All the townspeople went to see the witness Gopal, and when they saw the Lord actually standing there, they all offered their respectful obeisances. When the people arrived, they were very pleased to see the beauty of Gopal, and when they heard that he had actually walked there, they were all surprised. Then the elderly Brahmana, being very pleased, came forward and immediately fell like a stick in front of Gopal. Thus, in the presence of all the townspeople, Lord Gopal bore witness that the elderly Brahman had offered his daughter in charity to the young Brahman.
And then they live happily ever after.
The next verse.
We'll stop here.
Okay.
Now the section is from there, how it goes to Vidyanagar and from there to.
Oh, okay.
So we'll stop here. So there's a beautiful pastime giving us the two main things, that how Krishna in the temple is Krishna himself and not just a simple material made something of just matter, but is transcendental beyond this material world. And the conviction that the young Brahmana had for Krishna. So these are the two main things that we can see, especially the conviction part, the faith, the simplicity young Brahmana had. So yeah, we will stop here. We have 5 minutes. If someone wants to share anything, whatever, any reflection through this entire story, or any points, or any questions, we can just have some discussion.
Thank you, Prabhu. This is Ashram Madhav Das. I think the most important point about this whole episode I see is, and which is very difficult actually, more and more we become educated, more and more we know things, unfortunately we lose that simplicity. And I think this is the most important thing. We read also many scriptures and those things, but keeping that simplicity, I think, is difficult, but it is very important, I think, because that gives us faith, right? Otherwise, sometimes we lose faith because of all the. It becomes very easy to get distracted by the what you said just now. You said that salesmanship of Maya can easily distract you actually, if you don't have that simplicity and that faith in Krishna.
Yeah. I mean, they will say like this only, right? Oh, don't worry, just enjoy. Don't worry, things
Yeah.
will be better. And then you're suffering more and more, and they will still say, "Oh, don't worry, this is just one coincidence."
Yeah, post-dated check, as Srila Prabhupada would say, post-dated check.
Yeah, post-dated check. And another point that you were mentioning about simplicity, right? I mean, I was also thinking that when we start also our Krishna consciousness, there is more simplicity.
Yeah.
And in fact, the more and more we come into Krishna consciousness, the more we start knowing things. And there might be a chance that if the mood is not proper, that simplicity might turn into arrogance after some time, or faithlessness.
Yeah.
Although you will be still part of the entire movement, but still, I mean, you're there, still you're not there, right? I mean, that's the nature of the material world, and that's what familiarity breeds contempt, right? That's why Srila Prabhupada again and again mentions the importance of familiarity breeds contempt. Yeah. Thank you, Ashamada Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Anyone else wants to share anything?
Thank you, Acyuta Chaitanya Prabhu. This reading was really very beautiful. This is one of my favorite stories in Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'm in love of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and this is very fresh because we just finished this chapter 2 weeks back while reading with the Bhakti community, with our Bhagavad Seva with Gauranga Prabhu. So it was really very, very nicely, very beautiful story. And as Ashray Madhav Prabhu indicated, it's like simplicity and humbleness. Prabhupada always used to say, look at the tree. When the tree has fruits, the tree doesn't go and touch the sky. The tree branches are bowing down. It's like they're bowing down. So as the more heavier the tree gets, the more humble it becomes, and it comes down rather than going up and becoming proudy or egoistic.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mataji. Yes. Yeah. In fact, I was thinking the same thing a couple of days back. I just was at devotee's house, and I saw that were big fruits were there, and because of that heaviness, they all were bending down. And I was just remembering the same thing, that there's a story of two people. One sees the pineapple watermelon and says, "Oh, why the watermelon is so down?" And it should be right at the top. And then he realizes that if it falls on the head, it will get badly hurt. And then he realizes that how Krishna has made the material world in a perfect way. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mataji. Okay, so it's already 8:28. We can stop here. Thank you so much for attending. Also to the audience, devotees attending through YouTube or Facebook. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you for tolerating me. And Chaitanya Charitamrita is very beautiful scripture. If you get a chance, please do read. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for the beautiful reading and realizations.